Welcome to More Than Mortgage, where we help buyers, realtors, loan officers build wealth through real estate. And today we're privileged to have a very special guest on here with us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Our first guest, thank you for joining us. We've got our EVP of sales over at Summit Funding. We've got a national coach. We've got a podcaster, mom boss, but most importantly, a friend. So welcome.
Thank you
for joining us.
First time guest.
Yes.
I feel so privileged and honored, gentlemen.
Should. We've been holding out for 10 years, waiting for you to come and grace us with as the first guest.
The day finally arrived.
It's only up from here, for the record.
Here we go. I love it.
Well, today we really wanted to have Robyn on with us to talk about, struggling in a tough market, how to fight through this market right now. I know a lot of you may have felt a little stuck, lethargic, beat down a little bit. Maybe you're having your best year ever, but we wanted Robyn to really just come on today and talk about what it takes to win in a tough market.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For a topic.
I was going to say, I think that's a pretty good one. At the end of the day, obviously you've coached thousands of loan officers, realtors across the country. You've seen the best, you've seen the worst, you've seen everything in between. What's kind of your take on what's going on right now and what you're seeing and just with this market in general?
Yeah. It's funny. I've tried to even get myself to stop saying things like this market the truth is we all signed up to be in lending, right? In the real estate industry in general. And I think one of the things, I was just having a conversation the other day with somebody and I said, you think about how many good singers there are. If y'all have ever been to Nashville, you watch countless people sing their hearts out and really the ones that, there's so many good ones that you're like, how did this one make it and this one didn't, right? What's the decision there? Real estate and lending, what we do for a living is really no different. And what I think it boils down to that people need to wrap their head around is that it really is not the market at all. It's your energy. It's what you bring to the table every single day and how, we've talked a lot about feelings. People are discouraged or frustrated. Maybe they are having their best year ever. I guarantee you, if you studied the ones who are having their best year ever, there is an energy about them that is loving what they do and how they do it every day. And I think it's a component that we don't talk about. We talk a lot about go get leads, go prospect, do a lot of things. Yes, all of it. None of it matters if you're doing it begrudgingly, sheepishly, frustrated, all of these things. It matters when you're doing it in an excited manner, right? An engaging manner, a passionate manner, and you really believe in the product, if you will, meaning that we are building wealth through real estate, right? So I would say energy number one.
Energy number one. I love it.
I love that. So so that's the number one thing you wish people would understand that they understood what it takes to succeed right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
I mean, how many people would call you guys passionate, intentional, purposeful? How would they describe you? If you think about all of us, I always think, how would someone describe me and what I bring to the table? What words would they use as adjectives if they were referring somebody to potentially, work for or with me or, be part of my world? How would they do that? Would it just be like, I'm just a really great person.
Yeah.
She does this for a living type of deal, right? You would hope that somebody would say passionate, purposeful, contagious, all of these things in good ways. We all want to refer other professionals in that manner. And I think we've lost that a little bit in really seeing how important it is for someone to say, I want to work with people in life in general that are fired up, right? Fired up.
A transfer of energy.
Transfer of energy.
It makes people good. So I think when you were talking about that was the one thing I was thinking about the word. You said energy, but I was thinking passion, and then you bring passion, which is another, I think, really synonymous word to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So you're working with all these top lenders, and maybe it's the same answer, and not to belabor it, but I was going to say, what's one thing different that you see with these top producers and these people that are being very successful relative to the ones that aren't? And if it is energy, and I'm going to just go on this, what about, okay, but what is it that someone may need to do that is dipping down to recapture that energy too? So
yeah, I think consistency, and I think consistency plays a role in many things, not just energy. I think consistency plays a role in what our daily behaviors are, right? How consistent are we? If you think about life in general, consistency is something that we all can struggle with, in many different areas. It gets boring, if you will, in terms of what consistency looks like. And yet consistency in business, especially when we all sign up to kind of be our own boss, if you will, incredibly hard to give to people. And so very big deal to be consistent in our behavior, in what we do every single day. And how many true entrepreneurs do you know have a consistent work week or even a few consistent days in what they do, right? You guys are some of the few, and you're some of the few who have done a beautiful job in not only succeeding in the quote unquote market, but really continuing growth in the market.
Sure. I love that. And, you know, one of the things that comes to mind for me when we're talking about lenders and realtors getting back on track with that energy. What about buyers right now?
Same.
I mean, so rates are high right now. The market's tough, and I know different markets are different, but here in Chicago, for example, I mean, it is like there's a lack of inventory. There's competition everywhere. What do you say to buyers out there right now that are nervous or scared about buying or just don't want to jump into the market?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's fear. I also think there is a unspoken and unseen sense of entitlement to the industry in general. I want that cheaper rate. I want a great deal on a house. I want a really cheap rate. I want to become a homeowner. And kind of everyone's looking for where's the secret to giving me the magic, right? The magic deal, the magic pill, if you will. It doesn't exist. I think that everything comes with owning real estate in general, never a bad idea, period. It's shocking to me how many people have conditions to wanting to do it versus recognizing there's never a bad time to do it. The bad time might be when to liquidate it, when to potentially cash in on some of what it builds for you. There's never a bad time to engage in it, right? And so, again, it's our job to educate. It's our job to energize buyers around it. But it's buyers' job to get out of the entitlement piece and say, owning, period, is always better than renting.
I agree.
Right? Like,
You bring up a good point. I mean, I think one thing that we're talking about buyers that sellers don't think about, and what you just said a second ago, was liquidating. I think as I read a stat the other day where I think the average household in America has $310,000 worth of equity in their home currently.
Yeah.
And that's a great point that you just made. Is like, not necessarily when do I buy, but when do I sell?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you think about it, we know that debt in America is also at an all-time high, right? So equity's high, debt's high. People hold on for dear life to a 2% interest rate. It's almost like I'm kind of laughing, like back in the day when I was a size 2 pair of jeans, like I tried to hold on for quite some time. Post, 4 babies, like those jeans weren't going anywhere, and they no longer were serving me, right? They were no longer serving me. In fact, they were stressing me. They were making me hold on to something that I needed to be ready to move on from and know that I'm in the next stage. And I think a lot of people are holding on to that interest rate. That's not a bad idea, if you will, but they're doing it potentially at the expense of their entire financial picture. And like our job is to really look at the whole picture, take one step back and say, what's my well-rounded financial decision? That's where strategists like you guys and great real estate agents come into play for both buyers and sellers. It's not making a decision based fully on just emotion, I think, is where people get lost, versus looking at emotion and logic and really all of the facets of what it takes to buy and sell and the reasons behind it.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're in the moment, it's really hard to see outside of your, I'll say proverbial bubble, if you will.
Yeah.
So, whether you call that entitlement, whether you call that, just basically, can't see the forest in the trees, something to that extent. And so I think that's where you come in for loan officers or for, people that you work with to help them. And that's where we come into play with regards to clients and even other agents of that nature. Just try and look at the big picture, see where you're going, see what you're going to do. You talk a lot about mindset, and obviously you mentioned entitlement, but what would you say, in this market, as we're going through things, and again, not to bring the market back up again, but I do think that that's dragging a lot of people down. What do you suggest, and what have you found is helpful from a mindset perspective to, get back on track, take that next step, really kind of catapult yourself or keep yourself?
Setting strategy for breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah.
It's the coffee bean part, right? I don't even drink coffee, but you really think about, I mean, our job is to all be the coffee bean, if you will, right? You turn the water into coffee versus getting hard or getting soft. And I think so many of us have vacillated consistently between either softening or getting hard versus creating our own coffee. And so, yes, when you're purposeful and passionate about what you do and you're interested in other people, consistently interested in other people, whether it is the Uber driver that you're with, the Starbucks gal getting your coffee, someone you're standing in an elevator with, it's incredibly easy to make eye contact, to make conversation. Not always, right? I passed a homeless man in the alley last night. I certainly wasn't walking up and shaking hands in that moment, but I'm certain he could use a house. Sure. It was 10 o'clock at night, so that wasn't happening. But the truth is, people are all around us and they do crave connection, but the vulnerability part is saying like, hey, nice to meet you, nice day outside, whatever it is. And then, yes, I'm in lending, I'm this person. When people talk outwardly about what they do and how they do it, I think you become a coffee bean where people are like, I've thought about that. And you're smiling ear to ear versus like, this market's tough, can't wait for this to be over. And buyers are like, well, me too, I'll stand on the sidelines with you. And I think our job is to engage and create that coffee, if you will, of real estate, finances, strategic moves, always win. Always win. You never not win, but it needs a louder, more passionate voice out there from every single one of us.
So when someone's, because I deal with this a lot on a daily basis, when someone's stuck or they need to reboot in this market right now with a round mindset, like what's like good tactics that people can do right now to kind of re-energize?
I think we all start open with emotion, and then hopefully we land in logic that it can pair with our emotion, right? It's a both. And I'll give you a good example. I think my kids are a great just what we see and hear often. So I have kids that own their first home. They bought during COVID. So they have an incredibly low rate. They also have quite a bit of equity. And they said, this is what they wanted. And this is so typical. We want to sell and get top dollar, right? Or we want to keep it and make a bunch of money on renting because we have such a low rate. And then we want to buy and keep our mortgage payment incredibly low, and get a great deal on the next house because the market's quote unquote softening. And I'm like, you just realized the situation you described, you can win in one space, you don't get to win in both. Let's weigh this out, right? Let's look at the whole thing. And so they painted this picture to themselves of what they want due to media and, ideas and assumptions and all sorts of things. And so I sat down with them, they're 25 years old, and literally walked through, hey, you might sell for less than you anticipated, but you're likely going to buy for less than you anticipated in this market. Oregon's softening a little bit, maybe 1% to 2%. You are going to pay a higher interest rate than you have here. You're going to gain in tax deduction. You barely have any write-offs right now, right? And you're going to live in a house that makes a lot of sense for you, their son, and what will eventually be probably another child, and get into a space where that, right? It's you guys are on that next stage of life. And so, yes, it was beautiful even for 4 years that you have a 2.5%, 3% interest rate, whatever they have. That's a great gift. Also a great gift to live in your next home, right? That will potentially be your forever home in your 20s, that makes you debt-free in your 50s potentially, right? And ready for retirement.
Big picture as opposed to short term.
And I think one of the things, a great mentor of mine, Renee Rodriguez, I talk about him a lot. You can look him up, but he says one of the biggest dilemmas in life is short-term versus long-term thinking.
Sure.
And how incredibly challenging it is for all of us to pause. So when I think about a T-chart, when I think about, hey, what's the pros, what's the cons? Did I ask a qualified person, not an opinionated person, a qualified person to help me with my pros and cons list, right? That can give me excellent advisement. And then my emotions are also on this list. And how do I weigh out the two and come to conclusion? And I think if we just took a pause and really put our thoughts, for me, it's on paper, whatever that looks like, and then have the right advisement. Advisement's free, right? Like how much you guys charge to meet with someone and really go through their financial picture and help them make decisions? Nothing. And so worst case scenario is you're educated and you do nothing. Best case scenario is you come with a more confident plan of what your next steps are in moving forward, right? Like,
I also think that that's huge. And again, circling back, it's huge, especially if you've got a trusted advisor or someone that obviously understands, is again, helping you see big picture. Because again, there's times, I mean, I know personally, even having gone through it recently, where you have a certain view of where you're going and what you're doing. And you know what, maybe that's not where life is, for many different reasons.
Yes.
Whether it's the kids and their age, whether it's where things are, whether it's financially, whether it's, just wherever it may be. And, getting some of that advice. And while it may be difficult now, it, could pave the way for the future, for ultimately what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Robyn. How about on the flip side, loan officers or realtors that are in that predicament right now, where they're feeling stuck or they need to be rebooted? It's like, what are some tactics that?
Yeah,
because I think that's what our industry's been up against. Yeah, gosh, I don't know, the last 2-3 years. And so,
yes.
what is your advice on that, or some tactics that you would throw out there for that?
I would say to trust and love the process more than the outcome. We're so tied to outcomes, and outcomes are what often drive us to think that's, now I'm happy, right? Now I'm willing to do that, but only if this is a guarantee, if you will. And life is not a single, there's not a single guarantee in it. It just doesn't work that way. It's like saying, I'll only parent if my kids outlive me. I'll only, right? Like I'll only get married as long as I know it'll never end poorly. There's so much that is just not guaranteed, that we have to be in love with the day-to-day process and trust that the actions that we're taking will at some point lead to results. And I think that's one of the biggest misses, is we're so attached to what the outcomes are, that we tether our behavior on emotions of, do I really believe that I'm going to close more if I see more people, if I call more people, if I'm more present? And the answer is not if you're thinking the entire time, do they have a deal for me? Can they get me a paycheck in the next 30 days? Because you're no longer interested in the Jones family who needs advisement, and their best step might not to be to do anything at all.
Right.
But you spent time with them, right? Like, and so I think falling in love, back in love with the work that we do every day, and relinquishing our attachment to the outcomes is what actually fulfills us more.
Yeah, spot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything to that.
On that standpoint, I'm sure I responded to that, but it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it's going back to the energy aspect of it too. It's just, I know I put a post out there not too long ago where, like, my job is to create or exert energy into people.
Yes.
That's what I do all day long, and that's really, like, I think half the battle.
100%.
But I would add, I think the other half is also remove some fear. Because I think there's also, you put the energy in it and you get the excitement about it. But I also think there's some common misnomers, and there's things that people go through, and it's scary. And
100%.
people avoid things that, whether it's change, whether it's things that they're not sure what the ultimate outcome is going to be. And as a result, they avoid it. And I think at the end of the day, regardless, avoidance is the worst thing that could happen in any situation. Confront it, figure it out. Not saying you have to do it or you don't, but obviously confronting and seeing kind of what's out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of off topic, but one of the, I think, the fears that I've heard recently, and I don't think it's a fear, I'm embracing it right now, but just the whole AI aspect.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Where is it going to replace us? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. You guys are old enough with me, so I'll date all three of us. It's Y2K. Right? Do you guys remember all the hubbub about Y2K? So the end of the world, right? I'll never forget kind of coming out of 1999 into 2000. And I was actually pregnant with our first son. And I remember waking up the next day and thinking,
Are we still here?
are we still, like, everything's good? Like, life is okay? And so what I would say to that is, like, change is mandatory. It's inevitable. And so fixed-minded is a battle every single day, right? We all are required, if you will, to grow, because everything changes all the time. That growth mindset really attaches to, one, yes, being adaptable, but two, not having fear and instead having curiosity. And I think every time I'm scared, I think ask more questions, right? Get more information. And I think a tactic for that is, why am I feeling this way? And then what would I need to possibly join that change, if you will. I'm the most untechy person on the planet. I was using ChatGPT like Google for a little bit. I finally named it the other day. So mine's named Scout. She and I picked the name together. And I can't tell you, it's, at 47 years old, I'm fully engaged. I guarantee you, still as a beginning user, there's no way for ChatGPT to replace me.
Yeah.
But it for sure can make me better. And instead of being, I'm going to stay away from it so it doesn't replace me, you're almost choosing to replace yourself, right? Because someone else is going to add it as a partner and you're going to take it as a plague. And if you do that, you will take yourself out of where the world is going and become possibly irrelevant, if you will, and or untrustworthy because you're simply not willing to engage in what the future looks like.
We could go through a whole other episode. You taught me a lot on that.
Well, that's like a whole synopsis of what we talked about, right? It's mindset and embracing and basically facing fears. And I think AI is one of those big fears, that and getting high interest rates. The two biggest fears that are out there right now.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
with that being said, confront it, figure it out, and just look at the big picture. And to your point, you just basically summarized it. I'm still at the point where I need to Google how to use ChatGPT, whereas he has embraced it and he has really been able to use it. So need to get on that horse.
Yeah, 100%. I rode a Tesla the other day and I was like, I don't think I could ever do this. And then I stopped myself and I thought, one of these days I'm going to sit in a Tesla and put it on drive yourself mode. And I might not ever own one, but I'm going to let that sucker go. Like it's...
I love it. Yeah, perfect.
So
Good stuff.
Well, I had a couple things that I wrote down here today that I thought would be a good kind of wrap up to. First of all, thank you.
thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Those of you that don't know Robyn, she is Mom Boss.
Yes, it is.
A phenomenal podcast called Wild. What's it stand for again?
Women in lending determined to make a difference.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And men can listen to it too, because I do. But
Yes, it is universal.
I thought it'd be fun to kind of wrap up today on a rapid fire. So
Let's go.
I wrote a couple notes down here that I wanted to say to you. When rates go up, I tell my clients to
budget. I mean, I would say to look at their entire budget. Don't get hung up on rate, but get hung up on the entire picture. We don't ever flinch if our credit card statement comes with a higher rate. Right? Like you don't even notice it. So mortgage rates are just more prevalent in how out there they are. And so I would just say to really always make decisions based on big picture.
Cool. Great answer. How about the one phrase I always avoid saying in sales is
I can't.
I love it. Powerless word.
Powerless words.
that's what I wrote down. And then
5 points.
There you go, right? Absolutely.
5 points.
Yeah.
To get back on track mentally, I always
Oh, for me, I turn on Jesus music. It is probably my main, maybe a favorite like country song. On occasion, I call somebody who's going to pick me up, but I would say music and or prayer is probably my fastest reset these days.
I actually had also gratitude.
Yeah. Gratitude. You're exactly right.
Another place I go to where it's like if I'm always feeling like I'm off track, like it's sit down, write some thank you cards,
100%.
write a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
Like start your day out with that, and it
Yeah.
seems to always make things kind of
100%. What do you do?
I was thinking, or what I do is I just try and take a step back and do a little more of a meditation. Just I take a deep breath and just kind of let things go. Because over the course of the last, probably 10 years, but I've become a strong proponent that things happen the way they're supposed to, it just may not be the way that you want to. And so if I can just take a step back and just, again, embrace that and understand, like, there is a plan, this is happening. It may not be the way that I think that it's supposed to, but it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
And I believe, and I'm very confident that no matter what happens, again, it may not be what I think was the way it's supposed to, but it will work out.
Yeah.
And so, it will work out. I just need to keep plugging away, but sometimes I need to remove myself from kind of the chaos that is coming about.
Breath, yeah.
And, take a deep breath and then re-engage.
Love it.
Any final thoughts you want to leave us with today, Robyn? With our buyers, realtors, lenders.
Yeah.
Like any final thoughts for the audience out there?
Well, I'm going to be a thief on this one because I've been looking at it as I look over your head as I'm talking. And that's really the quote that's above you. I mean, if you think about it, it's a Maya Angelou quote that says success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. And I would just say that, doesn't that sum it all up, right? If we all really decide, and I would even replace the word with love because I'm a little sappier than that, maybe a hopeless romantic, but I would just say, gosh darn it, like, love who you are, love who you get to serve and how you get to serve them, love what you do every single day. And that very definition of success, if you will, isn't tied to outcomes, right? It's tied to the journey.
So I love that. It's awesome. Something to always remember. For sure.
We're very lucky to have you.
Thank you both. Yeah, two of my favorite humans. Yeah. Send these boys some people to strategize with.
Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you both.
I'm Mike Black, and this is More Than a Mortgage.
Tom Merritt, thanks for joining us.
And Robyn Lavasseur, find me on Instagram under Robyn Lavasseur. It's Robyn with a Y.
Please follow us on social media. We've got some great episodes coming your way, and we'll be launching very soon.